Well, earlier today, I spoke to the young woman who went through this entire ordeal. Let's listen to her side of the story. Well, you've been through quite an ordeal and you've described it in a fair amount of detail in your post. Tell us more about what happened that night. Did this SUV just appear out of nowhere and began following you?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was just driving home, minding my own business, and the first time that I saw this car was in my rearview mirror, and I noticed that they were coming towards my car quite fast. So I moved a little bit to the side. Next thing I know, they were next to me, and that was when they started trying to swerve into me, getting me to, trying to get me to stop, trying to scare me into stopping, and that was when it started.
And tell us what exactly happened when they tried to open your car door, because that also happened at one point.
Sorry. Well, that happened actually, that was the last thing that happened before the cops caught them. Before that, the entire time, they chased me all the way from Sector 7 Chandigarh to Housing Board Chowk. And the entire way they kept trying to swerve into my car and scare me into stopping, and I did have to, slow down at a lot of points. Like the entire time, I don't think their car was further than a foot or two away from mine at any point. And at Housing Board Chowk is when they actually managed to get down and come close enough to my car to be able to pull the door handle. But thankfully, that was when I saw the cops show up, and I got away from the guy who was trying to pull my door. Thankfully, it was locked, so he couldn't do it. And that was when the cops caught them.
That's pretty scary. I mean, you obviously would have been pretty scared yourself, but you did have the presence of mind to call the police, and you were all alone.
Yeah, because to me, it seems like the logical thing, and especially living in a city like Chandigarh, where the police makes an extra effort to ensure women's safety. So, and since we were kids, since we were in school, everyone has told us that if you're in a problem, you call the cops, you call 100. So, my first instinct at that time, of course, my first instinct is always to call my parents. But I considered that, and my parents are all the way, on the other side of town. By the time they get up and get out of the house and actually make it there, it might be too late. So, of course, my first instinct, and I think anyone's first instinct, should be to call the cops. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, when you filed the case, though, did you know who these men were who were harassing you and stalking you, or is that something you found out later?
No, when I called the cops, when they started harassing me, when I filed the complaint, even when I left the police station, I had no idea who these guys were. As far as I was concerned, they were just two regular guys who got drunk and decided to harass a girl. It was the next morning that I found out that the guys have connections and, are from influential backgrounds and whatever. So at that point of time, it was just two guys harassing a girl, and that was what it was.
Well, your father, who's a senior IAS officer, has written about how he's determined to see this through as the father of two daughters, is how he's put it, about how influential people think that they can get away with anything. What do you feel about what he said?
To be honest, I haven't actually had the time to really read what he's written. But I know the gist of it. And of course, I think I'm extremely lucky because I am in a position where I can take a stand. I'm educated. I live in a city. If I had been a village girl, I probably would not have the resources to be able to fight these guys. So, and if we don't do it, then who will? My father, with like his post and with what he does, if we aren't going to do this, then how can we ever expect anyone else to raise their voices?
Well, the men that you have accused of harassing you and of attempting to kidnap you have also got bail very fast. Has that been a disappointment? Were you surprised?
To be honest, I haven't really interfered much with the system. Like, I followed the legal procedure to file the complaint and to do what I had to do. After that, whether or not they got bail too quickly or not, and whatever the dealings of the cops are, that is up to the cops. As far as I dealt with the cops, they were extremely helpful. They did everything in their power to help me as much as they could. So I can't really comment on, what is happening there now. I am just doing my part.
And as you said, you're determined to see this through.
Definitely.